Hi everybody, my name is Alex Olson, and this is my System Security Plan, or SSP, for the CMI case study. So the executive summary that I'd like to present to you is as follows. The purpose of this System Security Plan, or SSP, is to propose both a sustainable and effective security plan to CMI, allowing them to improve upon their current security posture to prevent and/or mitigate future attacks. This SSP presentation will include the goals and objectives of this SSP, the listed vulnerabilities explained in earlier analyses, most specifically the risk assessment and the security policy, which was in weeks prior to this, the proposed fixes for those vulnerabilities, and the expected outcomes of those fixes. So the goals of this presentation are not going to be as comprehensive as both of those previously aforementioned papers, those being the security policy and the risk assessment. So in this presentation, we're going to review the prior risk assessment and vulnerability findings to evaluate CMI's current security posture. We're going to take each vulnerability listed and propose a security solution. We're then going to list the expected outcomes of the new security measures in order to determine their effectiveness. And then we're going to use the above results to deliver a final report delineating a clear, protective group of measures to be taken. So the goals and objectives of the specific SSP to CMI is as follows. The objective of this SSP is to provide CMI with the fixes for the various vulnerabilities found during the hybrid risk assessment, which dealt with both the qualitative and quantitative assessment. These vulnerabilities will follow with attached solutions. These fixes will allow CMI to prevent further intrusion into their central Oracle network, which they've had an increase in network traffic and they're unable to explain the source and/or the intent of those on the network. The various improvements, which now include network scans, which I'll also talk about, will allow CMI to focus on the intrusions already made and allow them to eliminate them from the network as sources of uncertainty while keeping their external security intact. Excluding the operational level changes, this SSP will, most importantly, provide CMI with a uniform security posture which can be taught and incorporated across CMI. So some of the previously aforementioned vulnerabilities that we see with CMI are, 1, increased network traffic from unknown sources and for unknown reasons. CMI is unable to delineate who, what, or when is on their network, but they've noticed an increase. The CEO is also thinking about outsourcing information security services. I see this as a vulnerability because it's not a vested group of people from CMI conducting their own security. It's simply a paid third-party contractor, which, while 9 times out of 10 mostly adequate, is simply going to treat CMI as just another client. The third vulnerability is that employees are able to use open Wi-Fi networks for work purposes. This is one of the most extreme vulnerabilities I found, and I think the class as a whole found, because it allows work to be conducted on open networks, which are not secure, they're not password protected. Neither of those exist. It's an open door into the network. The CEO is also proposing a BYOD policy, or a bring your own device policy, which allows employees to use their own personal devices for work, i.e. laptops, cell phones, tablets. This is also a vulnerability because it's unknown how security focused each employee is going to be. And therefore, if they're conducting work and having access to the central network, then maybe a lax employee will allow someone to accidentally gain access, or will be susceptible to phishing or over-the-shoulder type attacks. And one of the other vulnerabilities that I also found was that, CMI has an issue with running a wide area network. They're having trouble communicating with their 10 remote sites, and this is pretty much causing, lag outs, or as a result of, lag times, timeouts, just really scattered, kind of slowed down data. And this is going to prevent CMI from being able to really be an efficient business, and it's going to bog them down. So some of the first solutions that we're going to look at are going to be network-based. There's also a more physically oriented side that'll be after this slide, but I believe the most important solutions are going to be network-based. So the first one is, like I said, the BYOD, or the Bring Your Own Device policy. So what we're going to do is we're going to require employees to use standard security practices concerning their device security. And this was mentioned in my security policy, but each employee will be required to adhere to a CMI mandated best practices policy when it comes to device security. And if an employee doesn't want to enact this security policy on their own device, they can use a CMI provided device. But granted, it's not going to be their own. Wi-Fi networks. Probably one of the biggest vulnerabilities that we found. So our solution is that we're going to prohibit employee use of open Wi-Fi networks, which is now going to be replaced with secured VPNs, or virtual private network. This is going to prohibit employees from using Wi-Fi networks that they would find in, say, Starbucks or shopping malls. Anything like that that's not secured. Typically, all you need is a work email or just a regular email to log on, and that's all that's needed. An attacker could somehow gain the IP address or gain access onto the employee network, which is then connected to the CMI network, and therefore gain access into what the employee's doing. Programs such as Citadel allow attackers to record keystrokes and things like that on a computer or laptop or tablet. And that would allow an attacker to gain login information and tamper with CMI security, which is greatly affecting the integrity of the CMI information. When we look at the CIA triad or the security triad, confidentiality, integrity, and availability is what we look at. And all three of those are at risk. And third, we're going to require DSAs, or digital signature authentication. So this is going to concern employees sending information to or from the central network, or to and from each other, or the 10 remote sites sending information back to the central network. This is going to ensure that whoever's sending the information is verified by the receiver. That way, no man-in-the-middle attacks can occur. This is going to ensure that no altered information, like I said, integrity of the information is going to be compromised. And the receiver knows that the information that they're getting is from somebody who they know and who they trust. Next, we have our non-network based vulnerability solutions. This is going to focus more on the physical security of things and actual operational side of the CMI security plan. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to increase physical security at the 10 remote sites, which encompass controlled access points for the employees. We're also going to verify by probably employee badges who should be on site and who shouldn't be. And this is also going to be augmented by security clearances. So while everybody may have access to a site, they may not have access to some portions of this physical site. Either or, we need to ensure that whoever's on site is supposed to be there and that they have the access to the proper information. Second, we're going to include random audits into this policy simply because it's going to keep employees accountable. Employees theoretically will not conduct intruder or insider attacks if they know that their activity is going to be audited. And this helps to keep them accountable. Third, as I mentioned, the in-house information security operations. This is going to keep CMI the priority. If we use in-house personnel, they are going to be the ones with the most intimate knowledge of the network and the company. They're going to be the most invested and the most committed to CMI's well-being, rather than CMI simply being treated as just another client. On top of that, you look at other overhead costs of hiring an outside company, and costs can quickly balloon from services that this third party provides to remedies that they find or remedies that they propose due to problems that they may find. Whereas the people who are fixing the program, if they're in-house, the costs are already included in their salaries or in your budget. So this system security plan does have expected outcomes. We've got our solutions proposed. So the first outcome that we find is that if we use secured VPNs, this is going to help to secure the network against unauthorized intrusions. It's going to shut that open door. It's going to help to cut down on the unknown increase in network traffic, which CMI has seen, which is a huge concern for us. We're also going to require employees to adhere to a standard set of security operations regarding their personal device use, or the BYOD device policy, which I previously mentioned. They're going to have to agree to this uniform set of standards. This is also going to cut down on unauthorized intrusions and increase network traffic. Third, we're going to implement the DSAs, or the digital signature authentication methods, into all communications practices mainly from the 10 remote sites, which is going to help to ensure that no fraudulent communications are sent, which are going to prevent that man-in-the-middle attack. This is also going to help prevent the attack, but also verify from the sender to the receiver that the information is going to be legitimate. Therefore, it's going to maintain the integrity of the information being sent across the structure, the entire CMI structure. The other solutions that we have, or the expected outcomes, is if we keep information security services in-house, this is going to ensure CMI's best interests are going to remain a priority, and this will drastically lower the amount of reported incidences. The CMI staff is going to be the most intimate when it comes to knowledge and procedures, and they're going to be the most vested in CMI's well-being. Going back to the BYOD policy, if we increase and we standardize physical security protocols, not only for the BYOD policy, but also for the physical security at the 10 remote sites, this is going to help that no physical intrusions occur. It's also going to help to prevent information theft. So we're worried about information being inserted into the CMI network, which is going to, as I mentioned, put the integrity of the information that CMI has at risk. But it's also going to prevent theft of CMI information. And it's going to standardize security measures in different areas of the country where these remote sites are. We also have routine network scans, which is going to contribute to the increased network traffic problem. This is going to be able to allow CMI to determine who's on their network and for what reasons, which is going to allow them to correct that action. This is going to help to cut down on that unidentified network traffic. These expected outcomes are going to help provide employees with clear direction on actions to be taken, which are going to be moving forward. And in the future, they're going to know what to do. This is also going to provide CMI with measurable progress points in order to evaluate improvement or further corrective action. CMI will be able to take the data that they've learned from these security policies and enact them into further action. We call that our OODA loop, OODA, which is observe, orient, decide, and act. They have to have a feedback loop of information, and this is what they're going to use in order to move forward and continue to improve and adapt and essentially mold themselves and their security posture to the evolving threat landscape that they find themselves in. So the conclusion of this presentation is that this SSP is going to implement a uniform security policy and set of behaviors for CMI. Through defense in-depth measures, which, as I mentioned, incorporate both network and physical security vulnerability solutions, we're going to be able to give CMI a sustainable and secured method of operation, which is going to be pretty much a requirement if they would like to move forward as a industry leader, especially given the uncertainty of a threat landscape as profound as information technology and information security. With CMI being so information focused, the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of the information that they hold and use and send is of vital importance to them. That's it for this presentation. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed being in this course. I've learned so much. I've enjoyed interacting with not only you, Professor Holcomb, but the class as well. And I look forward to hearing from you guys later on in this program. Thank you.